We're diving deep today into the mind of Ted Bundy.
A fascinating and terrifying case, really.
Yeah, and I think what makes this one so compelling is that Bundy really shattered our perceptions of what a monster looks like,
Totally.
He was charismatic, intelligent, handsome, not exactly the image that pops to mind when we think serial killer.
Right, exactly. He was like the all-American boy next door. But behind that facade was a very, very dark reality.
Exactly. And so for this deep dive, we really want to unpack that. What made him tick? How was he able to deceive so many people for so long? And what does his case tell us about the nature of evil?
I think that's what's so compelling about this case. It makes us question our own judgment, Like, how can we be sure we wouldn't be fooled by someone like that?
Totally. It's unsettling.
Yeah.
It's like evil hiding in plain sight. Okay, so let's start with the basics. Bundy's MO, his modus operandi, was pretty consistent, right?
Yeah, he was very strategic in his approach. He often preyed on young women, usually with long, dark hair parted down the middle. He often faked injuries, like wearing a cast or using crutches, to appear vulnerable and gain their trust.
Oh, wow. So he really played on people's empathy.
Exactly. He would often pose as an authority figure, like a police officer or fireman, to further disarm his victims.
It's terrifying how he was able to twist those symbols of trust and authority into weapons.
It's truly chilling.
And then there were the escapes. I mean, not once, but twice he managed to escape from custody. Once he jumped out of a courthouse window. Another time, he crawled through a hole in his cell ceiling that he had painstakingly made over time.
Yeah, those escapes really showed his cunning and resourcefulness. He was very meticulous and patient in his planning, which only added to the public's fascination with him.
Right. It's like, how could someone be so clever and yet so evil? It's almost like a morbid fascination. But I have to say, for me, the Chi Omega murders are the most disturbing part of Bundy's story. The brutality of those attacks, the level of violence, it just seemed to escalate.
Absolutely. And it really shattered that facade he had so carefully crafted.
Right. It forced everyone to confront the true darkness of who he was.
Definitely.
And yet, even during his trial, which was nationally televised, he still managed to manipulate the situation, playing the role of the charming defendant.
Yeah, he even served as his own attorney for part of it, cross-examining witnesses and delivering his own closing arguments.
It's crazy. And what's even more mind-boggling is that some people were actually swayed by it. Women wrote him love letters, attended his trial. It's just bizarre.
I think, unfortunately, it speaks to the power of charisma and manipulation. He was so good at presenting this image of himself that it was easier for some people to believe that than to accept the horrifying truth.
Wow. Okay, so in his final days, Bundy did start confessing to some of his crimes, right? Did those confessions provide any real insights into his motives?
Well, the confessions were a bit of a mixed bag. Some believe he was finally being truthful, maybe seeking some kind of redemption. Others saw it as just another manipulation, a final attempt to control the narrative, even in the face of death.
Classic Bundy. Always in control.
Right.
Oh, okay. So where does this leave us? What can we ultimately learn from Bundy's case? It's a dark story, a disturbing chapter in human history, but there has to be something we can take away from it, right?
I think the biggest takeaway is that evil can often hide in plain sight. It can wear a mask of normalcy, of charm and intelligence. We have to be vigilant, be aware of those red flags, even when they come from people who seem trustworthy.
Right. So it's not about being paranoid, but about being aware, about trusting our gut instincts.
Exactly. And I think Bundy's case also highlighted the need for a better understanding of criminal psychology, which has led to advancements in criminal profiling techniques.
So in a way, he inadvertently helped catch future predators.
In a strange way, yes.
Wow. That's a strange silver lining. Okay, so we've covered a lot today. Bundy's case is complex, disturbing, and it definitely leaves us with more questions than answers. But I think the biggest question is, if someone like Bundy could exist, if someone could be so charming and yet so evil, what does that say about our ability to recognize and confront evil in the world?
It's a question we all have to grapple with, right?
Exactly. And I think it's one that deserves continued reflection and discussion. So to our listeners out there, keep thinking, keep asking questions, and keep the conversation going.
Absolutely.
That's it for this deep dive. Until next time.
See you then.